Sometimes we need something to shake us up, to wake us up from the fantasy we live in. Hopefully, this COVID-19 outbreak will serve as a wake-up call for people all over the world, because it's a clear preview of what we can expect in the coming years. This epidemic showed us that our economic and financial systems are not as stable as most people think. Many of our politicians were very eager to embrace socialism and persecution during this epidemic, and the acute scarcity of the essential requirements began to spread very quickly throughout the country. If things got so corrupt during a relatively minor crisis like the COVID-19 outbreak, what will our society look like when the big crisis strikes us? This coronavirus is by no means an at the end of the world scenario if you have not understood so far. Yes, more than 300,000 people have died worldwide so far, and the final number of deaths will be even higher. But this is not like the Spanish flu outbreak between 1918 and 1920, which took the lives of somewhere between 50 million and 100 million worldwide. So this is good news, but bad news is that the lockdowns created by our own political leaders blew all our economic bubbles and completely destroyed the global economy. Here, more than 38 million Americans have lost their jobs. In the United States, so far, more than 100,000 businesses have been permanently lost, and United States GDP is expected to drop by approximately 40% in the second quarter. All it took was a fear of virus to do this. If millions of people were dying all over the planet, the level of fear we witnessed would be understandable. However, millions of people do not die, and this crisis turned out to be mostly fear. Ultimately, we will see this as a relatively minor event compared to the horrible pandemics that allow experts to ensure that we are finally on our way. So please do not get rid of any protective equipment you purchased. You will need one day, but for now, there is absolutely no reason for any US state to still have any restrictions, and we should desperately try to restart our economy because it dies in front of your eyes. In fact, White House economic advisor Kevin Haslett says we can see the official unemployment rate reaching 22 or 23% in May. Kevin Haslett, who is chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, has warned that the unemployment rate, which hit 14.7% in April, may rise to 22 or 23% in May and edge up a bit in June before falling back down. We will see a very bad number for May, and then I think that in June it will start to head in the right direction, he told CNN, adding that he believes a fourth stimulus bill meant to stanch coronavirus-induced economic pain is coming sooner rather than later. During the same interview, he even admitted that we will still face double-digit unemployment when we go to vote in November. Asked whether it was possible unemployment will be in double digits in November when the presidential elections are held, Hassett replied, "Yes, I do." To put this in perspective, the unemployment rate in the United States reached nearly 10% during the last recession. What we are facing now, we will continue to have very high unemployment for a much worse and predictable future than anything we have experienced during the last recession. A bigger concern is the persecution we witnessed throughout the nation during this epidemic. I could never have imagined that many governors would be so willing to fully embrace the persecution during a crisis. Some even seem to have begun to violate the rights of others, and this was extremely worrying to watch. Over the years, many freedom-loving candidates tried to run for the nationwide public office, but the American public continued to refuse them and instead opted for ultra-corruption career politicians. As a result, we have the government we deserve, and it's not nice. I'm a personal friend with a mother who was arrested just for taking their children to the park to play. In New York, a young mother was arrested by the police for not wearing a mask. And in the entire USA, we found that priests were arrested only for trying to keep church services. No, we're no longer the land of the free. Of course, it is not only the authorities who are willing to implement the new social distance rules. An excellent example of this happened in New York. A viral video captured the moment furious New Yorkers chased an unmasked shopper out of a grocery store in Staten Island. In the 21-second clip, which has racked up more than 1 million views, at least 5 customers are seen berating a woman for not wearing a mask inside the crowded store, despite the state requiring everyone to do so. This is what fear does to people. And now, if we see so much fear, how will people react when something much worse comes up? In addition to everything I share, this crisis should motivate us all to prepare for the days we have never experienced before. During this epidemic, there was toilet paper, hand sanitizer, masks, meat, frozen pizza, and all kinds of other famine. As the past few months have shown, if you wait until everyone realizes there is a complete crisis, it may be too late to get what you need. Of course, the temporary famines we witnessed in 2020 are nothing compared to those that eventually come. I have mentioned extensively about famines that are beginning to emerge around the world, and the United Nations clearly warns that hundreds of millions of people may face acute food shortages by the end of this calendar year. The United Nations is warning the world of a looming food shortage as a result of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. An expected 265 million people could face acute food shortages by the end of the year. Many Americans may not notice this, but the rest of the 2020 is actually a window of opportunity to be prepared for events in 2021 and beyond. Please take advantage of this window, because even though this pandemic is mostly fear, it will not take us long to face more serious problems. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.